Hi everyone, I'm Catherine Miller and I'm the Publishing Services Librarian at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, in Gaithersburg, Maryland. I want to thank Chris Hausler for inviting me to talk to you all today at the Typefi Standards Symposium. My work at NIST includes managing the production, dissemination, bibliographic control, and impact assessment activities of the NIST Technical Series publications. I'm going to talk to you all today about how we are planning to pivot from PDF-only publishing to publishing multiple accessible formats, including HTML, EPUB, and DAISY XML. I'm also going to turn off my camera for the rest of this presentation, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse at the face behind the voice. NIST is a non-regulatory agency of the United States Department of Commerce. The NIST mission is to promote U.S. innovation and industrial competitiveness by advancing measurement science, standards, and technology in ways that enhance economic security and improve our quality of life. The Information Services Office, or NIST Research Library, supports and enhances research activities of the NIST scientific community. Please note the following disclaimer, as I will mention commercial software products in this talk. Certain commercial equipment, instruments, or materials are identified in this paper in order to specify the experimental procedure adequately. Such identification is not intended to imply recommendation or endorsement by NIST, nor is it intended to imply that the materials or equipment identified are necessarily the best available for the purpose. One of NIST's responsibilities is to develop industry standards and guidelines, which are published as NIST Technical Series publications. The NIST Research Library has the unique responsibility for publishing the NIST Technical Series and archiving legacy publications. Here you'll see the first technical note we published in the 1950s, as well as two recent high-impact computer security publications. The NIST Technical Series publications are highly utilized by the federal government, academia, and industry practitioners. From 2018 through 2020, approximately 19,000 publications were downloaded by over 24 million unique users. More than half of the downloads are NIST computer security publications, which include management, administrative, and technical standards and guidelines for securing federal information and information systems that is not national security related. They are also widely used in the private sector. Most of the Technical Series publications are only available as PDFs. A few publications, including all the cybersecurity practice guides, are available in HTML. However, the authors are responsible for creating the HTML themselves and hosting it on their own web spaces. The PDF published by the library is the version of record. It has been a common complaint over the last few years from NIST employees and industry partners that reports are only published as PDFs and not available in standard-specific XML for reusability, discoverability, and ability to store in repositories. NIST has made great strides in making NIST data and software both digitally accessible and machine readable on data.gov and data.nist.gov. Here you see an example of a landing page on data.nist.gov for a NIST software program, and the metadata, including the access link, as a JSON file. The library decided that the same efforts should be applied to the NIST Technical Series publications in order to meet the demands of our audience and provide multiple accessible options for users to read our publications. In 2019, the NIST Research Library began a pilot to publish a sample of high-impact computer security publications in multiple formats for accessibility, reusability, discoverability, and ability to store in repositories. After attending talks and performing market research, we found that NISO STS provided the structure needed to convert these computer security guidelines and standards from the original Microsoft Word documents to XML. The XML would then be used to create PDF, HTML, EPUB, and DAISY XML versions of the publications. After a public request for proposal, or RFP, process, we chose Xstyles to convert the Word document to NISO STS and Typefi to convert the XML to the final formats that will be hosted on our publication server. The DOI for each publication will point to the HTML with the option to download other formats. The PDF will remain the version of record. While the outputs created by Xstyles and Typefi for our pilot are not publicly available yet, I will show you a sample of the PDF and the HTML. Here's how our publication cover pages look in PDF format, and how the same publication will be rendered in HTML. These HTML pages will be hosted as separate files on our publication server, as we do not have a robust content management system to work with, but that is a goal for the probably far future. You've seen the sample outputs, but you're probably wondering about the conversion process of older, yet very important, standards publications. As you might guess, some of our publications don't fit into the traditional standard format, so we had to work with Xstyles to fit our content into NISO STS the best we could. This included making use of the notes elements for metadata such as authors, disclaimers, and the agency information. This is why we started with a sample of publications, and we made an effort to choose a variety of publications with tables, images, equations, reference lists, and author-created formatting issues that somehow made it into the final publication. This process taught us that our publications are not standardized, even though we have templates. Decisions were made as part of this process that will hopefully help us standardize future publications and give us leverage to require authors to use templates. So, lesson learned, our standards publications are not actually standard, but now we know and we can get there in the future. So why are we doing this? Besides the obvious reason that our users want standards and guidelines in multiple formats, we are committed to providing accessible and inclusive research content. As Guy van der Kolk told me in a conference call a few months ago, the best solution to publishing accessible content is to commit and provide options. So, while we may have placeholder alt text for some of our older content as we continue to develop this publishing program, the decisions we've made during this process hopefully show that we are committed to providing accessible content. The multiple formats will allow our standards content to be read and ingested by a variety of people and programs. We do realize that this commitment isn't perfect. For example, DAISY XML can't handle MathML, so the equations for that will have to be exported as images with alt text that points users to the EPUB format for a full description. But we know that DAISY is still utilized by assistive devices, so we need to provide it as an option. Accessible content also ensures that we remain committed to inclusivity in standards documents. NIST recently published guidelines on using inclusive language in standards activities in NIST IR 8366, and the Technical Series publication's author instructions have a section on how to write inclusively and avoid biased and harmful language. If we are encouraging our authors to write inclusively, we need to be inclusive with regards to publishing formats and platforms. So what's next? We still have a lot to do, including finishing up the DAISY XML process. Additionally, we need to do a full content review of the XML to make sure we didn't introduce any errors during the Microsoft Word to XML transformation. We are going to work with the authors and subject matter experts on that before we make any of these formats publicly available. Any issues we discover during that review will be issues with the Microsoft Word document that can be fixed with removing fancy formatting or simply restructuring tables. Once the sample of computer security publications is published, we will review the work done so far and write procedures to implement this publishing process for all NIST Technical Series publications. We publish anywhere from 200 to 300 publications a year, so our plan will require a lot of cooperation from our authors and managing expectations with regards to publishing timelines. But we are really excited by how close we are to finishing this pilot. I want to thank all my colleagues in the library who have helped with this process so far. I do want to make special mention of my colleagues Karen Wick, Andrea Medina-Smith, Kate Bucher, Jim Fody, and Kathy Sharpless for their continued support and guidance on all publishing matters, and Sharman Hawkins for guiding me through the RFP and acquisitions process for the software needed to make this happen, and my former colleague Kim Trika for helping me put this idea on paper back in 2017.